kind of what I said off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're smarter than me. So what?
No one said that.
No one didn't say it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. We're up to 762 episodes today, February 28, 2024, as we record this. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I may be Jeremy Hellstrom.
I think I'm going to be Brett Van Spoonberg. I'm starting a new line of shirts with firewall rules on them.
And I am Kent Burgess. Happy to be back.
Yes, thank you. Kent is back. Josh is traveling this week. And so Kent, more than happy to rejoin us.
Flight
sim. Going to do anyway. I mean, yeah. But hey, look, we still have 4 people. If you're one of those people who is thrown off by change, you won't like this because it's somebody different in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen if you're watching the YouTube version. But at least we're not doing some weird like 5-person thing like this, which for some reason, not everybody likes this. I don't know why. Let's move to the Patreon section of the podcast where we tell everybody in our listening and viewing audience about our funding campaign. Go to patreon.com/PCPer and give generously to a cause that you can believe in. I mean, there's so much cynicism out there. There are people who are even kind of down on this whole hobby to begin with because of the pricing is on video cards. It's not exactly appealing, but we have to ride this out. We have to see it through. We have to stay the course. And what I'm trying to say is give generously, give beyond your ability to get. No, don't do that.
Give early, give often.
Yeah, and just keep on doing it. And hopefully forget about it so you don't ever cancel it.
It adds a new dimension of meaning to your life if you get involved in that way. Really
it's a cause you should believe in.
It is.
Please help Brett move out of his yurt and back into a home.
There is one new person. Excuse me a second. There is something crawling on my monitor.
Hey, that's your dinner.
It's gone. It's gone.
Where
to take care of it
because
it's very distracting.
Cave? It was just a random lizard or snake or
usually
rat.
I eat them. Usually I eat those, but not on one of the shows live. I'm going to be out of the Moroccan prison probably inside of a few weeks here, I guess. Yeah. But there is one person I do want to thank, especially for keeping us, well, most of us out of prison. I'm in prison. That's tax evasion. You know how it is. Rowan has given generously this week, and I just want to thank
Atkinson.
So thank you. Well,
we wish, but Rowan.
If it was a Rowan Atkinson, it may have been more. But this Rowan did come up, threw down some money for us to keep the lights on. Well, maybe you guys can keep the lights on. My jailers will turn it off here in about 2 hours.
Good. Yeah. Thank you, Rowan. And this is starting to feel a lot like a PBS pledge drive, so we've got to move on.
Exactly.
It's time for Food with Josh, featuring Jeremy. Take it away.
Yeah, well, he is cheating on Born on the Barn with what looks to be sort of a combined soup and sandwich in one plate. I mean, he says it's a green chili burger from a place called Raton, but I'm struggling to find the burger in this. It certainly looks interesting. It certainly looks chili-ish. I'm assuming that's just a patty sort of hiding down there with possibly another patty behind it. Some cheese that you can see spreading out. The veggies on the side, which you may or may not have touched. And I do like the look of the fries. The fries do look rather nice. There is spice on them. He's either...
They look hand-cut?
Yep.
Yep.
Decent amount of pepper on there, but as far as burgers go, I don't know. This is sort of
beans?
a stretch.
I guess it is.
That would be the chili part.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're taking Sloppy Joe and just running way too far with it to make what is essentially a plate of chili with some burgers on it.
It's not uncommon to have burger in Chile.
I believe
Sorry.
we can eliminate Flight Sim as a possibility of where Josh is tonight.
Yes.
I don't think you can be able to sit comfortably after eating something like this.
This was
At least
posted not even 3 hours ago. So
Oh,
if
he's
not
literally
in, a meat
in the
coma yet,
bathroom right now
Yeah.
as we speak. There's no doubt about that. But now we know the real reason he couldn't join us tonight from wherever he is. Nobody wants you to podcast from a bathroom.
Is Boca Raton down where he is? Or is it a name of a restaurant? I'm not sure.
It's all a mystery.
We may never know.
It's time for the PCPer news desk, and our top story tonight is AMD Radeon RX 7900 GRE. You know that graphics card variant that was released to China only in July of last year? Well, it's global now. The Golden Rabbit Edition, GRE, and there's a ton of reviews out there for it. Although if you'd looked at any of the performance numbers from its initial launch, you won't be surprised at all by this. But in addition to this, though, AMD has officially adjusted the pricing of the 7700 XT, as reported by Tech Power up here. I got the email from AMD as well. $419 is now the official list price from $449. It's not much. It's $30. I think this is still a $399 product. I've seen some complaints that maybe it should be like a $350 product, which lower is always better. Do you think this is enough, especially considering that the 7800 XT is so much faster for $499 or less? It's been selling for less than its list price at times. So I don't know. There's some room.
What if we got a $420 price point? That sort of thing. It's a little bit of a gap. It's a very narrow gap. I will give it that. But it is a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, it's just another SKU to drive, every dollar price point they can. Yeah. They've got a little bit of a lead on NVIDIA with SKU fill out for $1.
Yeah, that's the thing. NVIDIA doesn't have anything at this price level because they go right from $399 to
just over $4.
$599 or $549? Because they don't have anything at the $500, the $450 or $500 level right now. Because they lowered the price of the regular 4070 down to $549, and they don't have the 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte on their official chart anymore at $499. All right, let's continue on with more 7900 GRE coverage, which we'll also have more of whenever we do the review part. But by the way, speaking of that 7900 GRE that everybody's talking about, there's very limited overclocking headroom. And it turns out, after Hardware Unboxed and others have looked into this, there is a bug, according to AMD. Let's see. AMD's statement to Steve at Hardware Unboxed. Extremely limited overclocking of the GRE cards is a bug. Will be addressed shortly. So apparently all they need to do is update the driver, and they can fix that little performance snag. And it needs help. It needs all the help it can get.
Who do they think they are? ARC?
Yeah.
You'd think a product that's been out for 7 months.
Yeah, that's the question.
Would be mature by now.
Especially a Rabbit edition that would essentially breed very quickly. But we'll see.
Okay, while we're on the subject, let's just cover the review really quick. This is like a 5-minute read or less, because this is... Think of the 6950 XT for a moment. Just consider that in your mind. It's a great card, great value. You can often find it for around $550. Now think of a new card called the 7900 GRE that's $549 and offers almost the same performance as that 6950 XT. Now it is slightly faster, but I think it's rather telling to look at how advanced RDNA 3 really was when an RDNA 2 product with 80 CUs. So it has the same streaming processor count. It's 5,120. The advantage is really in, I guess, the efficiency, because it's doing more with less. It's slightly faster than the 6950 XT with lower overall clock speeds, at least according to the specs. Has more ROPS, 160 versus 128. Everything else is pretty much the same, except for the Infinity Cache, which is half of the old 6000 series card. 64 megs versus 128 with the 6950 XT. So lower power consumption, but the memory system is exactly the same.
Identical.
16 gigs of 256-bit GDDR6, 18 gigabit per second effective data rate for a total of 576 gigabytes per second of bandwidth. That's the same for both cards. I mean, look at that launch price. I forgot that the 6950 XT launched at over $1,000.
Yeah, it did. And it only had half the transistors.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yes,
Talking
it's
about
insane.
50, because of course the 7900 GRE is just a further cut down Navi 31.
Of the Navi 31, yeah.
So
it's impressive. And I love the power draw. Like 260 watts for like a system. It'll bump out the 1650. Finally. In some of the pre-builts, I think.
Let's look at that power draw real quick. Averaging, based on the data points on this chart here, averaging 266 watts during this 3D Mark Speedway run. So it's right on. It's 260 watt rated. Of course, it'll spike higher. The highest spike was 340 watts, but pretty well behaved card. Thermals of our Sapphire sample, by the way, were phenomenal. Like the highest reading I actually saw was 61C.
Yeah.
During load. Not doing really long gaming sessions.
Did the fan spin up at all at that?
Barely. I couldn't hear the card over the liquid cooler as usual, but so just to give you an idea, let's look at Time Spy Extreme 3D Mark scores here. It is just a little bit ahead of the 6950 XT, the Asus TUF that we have. So 10,173 for the 6950 XT, 10,440 for the 7900 GRE. So very little difference there in raster performance.
Not much of a difference. Yeah.
No, where you will see maybe a slight advantage would be in something like a DXR title. Like this is 3D Mark Speedway, so it's a DirectX 12 Ultimate. The gap is almost exactly the same.
8.5%, 9%, something like.
Yep.
It's not very much.
8%. No.
Borderline noticeable.
Damn it. Okay, so the
And what is it?
8%. So
okay, 8.5 to be exact, which is
8.5.
Kind of what I said off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're smarter than me. So what?
No one said that.
No one didn't say it. You're not saying it. You're not denying it. I guess is the other way.
Just read his shirt.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk.
So my wife has multiple degrees and an alphabet after her name. She's terrible at math. So don't worry about it.
So you've seen this before. You've seen it happen.
I'm good at some of the basics, but apparently percentage calculation is not. It's too advanced. Anything past.
I work with statisticians all day. Their take on math is very interesting.
So the long and short of it is that this card is the Pure card from Sapphire. It is all white. I've never seen an all white Sapphire card, at least not that I can remember. I think I used to have a Sapphire from like an ATI card that had a white shroud or something, but it was a red
real
PCP.
Long time ago. Didn't they have an all white kind of thing going? Anyway,
they had a white motherboard. They had they did an all white motherboard.
Sapphire?
Yes. We talked to Ed about it last time he was on the show.
Yeah, he did. And NZXT did an all white one just a little while ago, a couple of years ago.
I had completely forgotten that Sapphire made boards until you brought it up.
Yeah, this is the card. This is the Pure, and it's a very nice. They did a nice job with the white. The fans match the shroud very nicely. It's not easy to do. You remember what Steve Jobs said about white? Matching white plastic and metal. It's not easy. They have a white.
That's tough.
Metal backplate on this thing. There's the lighting wasn't the best in these photos. I could have used a little bit more, but yeah, it's the only thing that
looks great.
Is not. It's white, but it looks kind of gray because there wasn't enough lighting.
Oh, so it's more of a cool white, or is it more of a warm?
I would say this is a little bit cooler, but it really I'm getting a little bit of that warmer white vibe off of it, but I think it's because of the red accent. So it creates a little bit of that reddish. I don't know what the term is. Obviously, intelligence is not strong from the upper left quadrant of the podcast. Hence why I'm doing this every week at 10 o'clock at night instead of going to bed like a rational person would when my son goes to school early in the morning. Let's move on to Intel and Clearwater Forest could get Intel inside the server room again. Not that they've really left because, there are probably some very aggressive deals to keep them in certain data centers. But yeah, we know that EPYC is where it's at right now. So what's this going to do?
Well, it's a brand new FET. FinFET is out. We're going with ribbon FET. So as you can sort of see, the transistor gate is wrapped around multiple channels. And although they don't say that, they don't show this in the example, one of the things that they figured out how to do was to make the channels of different widths. This is very weird. Like, it's always had to been very, very consistent, right? You can't mess around with the channels that are going through. That should actually be allow them to significantly increase the energy efficiency of it, because you're going to have transistors that don't necessarily have to get a big fat channel through them when they don't necessarily need to. So that's a very interesting thought. They've also changed the power on the backside. They've got this brand new thing called Power Via. I think they recently bought it. I can't remember from who. But the way that they're providing the power through the back plane is going to be significantly more efficient than it has been for a while, because that's one of the worst things about Xeons is they are so power hungry that it's absolutely insane and makes an EPYC look reasonable by comparison.
And now, hold on a second. Just wait. One thing that's really important to note is heat is really in power draw is the ultimate enemy in the server room. It is the absolute worst because it drives so much of the budget for large scale operations, and that's why this is so important. Every watt.
I only get half the performance, but it's only a third or 2/3 of the power. Sold. Done. Yeah. So the other thing is that this thing is not going to be a WIMP. It scales up to 288 E-cores at the very top end. No P-cores, because again, like Brett said, efficiency is king in the server room. You don't need those P-cores. The efficiency cores, as long as you got enough of them, are going to be wonderful. So it's very interesting to see what these 288 E-cores on their 18A process, which will be the other interesting thing that this brings in. So Intel's bringing in a lot of stuff all at once. Hopefully it works out for them, but sometimes when you change so many things at once, there can be some growing pains. So 288 cores, no hyper-threading to get your scheduling all screwed up. No P-cores to deal with peak power because it's a server. This could really work out for them if they pull it off well. I'm just reading through the errata and that there's just so many changes in it that, you got a new process, you got a new design, you got a new power system. We shall see. Maybe you should wait for Sierra Forest, though. That's the one that comes after it.
This is interesting because if you go with an all E-core design, that typically means that you're using more mature architecture, but you're just putting it onto a more efficient process node. So these are not going to...
They're doing both.
Yeah.
They've gone from a waltz to a double step.
Way back in 12th gen, I remember on a show, I was talking about the fact that you can get 8 E-cores into the physical space of 2 P-cores. And even in 12th gen, the performance of E-cores was not that far generationally behind IPC. It was about the same IPC as Skylake, but much, much more efficient. And I was wondering then if Intel had plans to go forward using that style because they could just fit an immense amount of cores in a really small space. And if the performance of E-cores has improved IPC, that could be very, very interesting.
The YouTube chat just mentioned something that was just a comment a few seconds ago regarding the proliferation of E-cores, doing away with potentially the necessity of hyperthreading. And I can see that being a real advantage, especially in the server space, running a lot of multi-user typical operating systems like Linux or certain versions of Windows and things like that, where they've had a lot of trouble with security violations and cross or same core issues with the ability to gather instructions and data from a co-process. That's not necessarily one that belongs to you on your process space, but you're able to kind of gather that information through the hyper-threading context switching. Yeah. And that kind of sidesteps that whole problem. And that's one of the reasons why we've lost a certain amount of performance on older generational chips that have a lot of hyper-threading because of patching. When you see the BIOS patching come through, that patches yet another security problem. This sort of sidesteps that.
Yeah, that raises the specter of a security meltdown we had not too long ago.
Did you say specter?
Of a security meltdown that we recently.
Nicely done.
I saw what you did there.
Okay, so quickly, some hardware news. Corsair has unveiled 2 new series of dual-chamber PC cases. Now, you know the old dual-chamber PC cases from Corsair. They had that big pillar separating panes of glass, and it's just not attractive. What you need is that big open glass front corner. That's all the rage these days. Every manufacturer now has a case like this, and Corsair is no exception. The 6500, which is their ATX sized series, is 6500D, 6500X. One is mesh, maximum airflow. The other one is glass panels. And then they have the 2500, which is the micro ATX / mini ATX variant, which, as you can see from this photo, if you're watching the video, is smaller, but still spacious. These are big dual chamber cases. They have almost as much space behind the motherboard tray as in front of it. So as
dual chamber.
Yeah, that's the dual chamber way. And of course, Corsair has been a pioneer of dual chamber cases going way back to the days when, Ryan was making video reviews on PCPer's YouTube channel like a decade ago. With the first, I think it was the Air. They called it Air, like Air 540.
The Air 540. I think it was the 540X. Then they had a mini or a micro ATX. It was like the 240X, I think. They were both dual chambers.
Yep. And then later they came out with variants of those that they featured a lot of tempered glass because that's what the industry had moved to. And those didn't have the same airflow, of course. And what they're trying to do with this, I think, is I have one of them behind me that is in for review. And the idea is even with the tempered glass version like this, you have a lot of ventilation. The back is all ventilated. I took the panel off, but the back is just all like mesh. And then there's mesh along the front, like the other side of the chamber. Like this is all mesh. And the top is mesh. So the idea is it looks nice. You can see all your components and stuff, but then you're using a liquid cooler. You're cooling it from, air's coming in the back. It's going out the top. And so there's no downside. So if you build in a case like this, which again, every manufacturer has their version of this now. What was the original, like the template for this? It's like the 011, right?
It's an enjoyable style to build in.
Here's something completely different from Ars Technica. If you're an AT&T customer, you already know about this. There was a major outage. Lots of AT&T customers were affected by this, but don't worry. I think they're actually giving everybody $5 for their trouble. That's great.
That was one of the highlights here.
Yeah.
Those various people that were in car accidents or other life-threatening emergencies and couldn't
use their phone at all. Yeah. It's like, here's $5 statement credit.
Or the next of kin gets $5.
So their network update that was botched. This is from Ars Technica. I may have mentioned that already. So it was their botched network update that caused the major wireless outage of the 22nd of February.
Apparently, they were looking to expand their system, maybe in some way, shape, or form. And they sent a bad software patch or deployment out to way too many installations. I'm convinced in my imagination they had to physically send someone with a USB stick to every installation because they couldn't reach them anymore or something. That's my imagination. I'd like to start that rumor, but I'm imagining that's what happened.
I don't know if you're totally imagining it. I hope that this works out the same way it did in Canada, because Rogers, one of the 3 remaining major phone companies up here had the same thing happen last year. And everything from 911 to text was dead for about a day. And so Canada figured out the perfect solution, which was to allow them to absorb Shaw, their only competitor, so that now there are only 2 major telco companies in Canada, one of which went through a 24-hour outage with no $5 even.
Are you suggesting that there might be corruption involved?
Well, no, but I'm just hoping there, AT&T and T-Mo will combine, and that will solve all of your problems. And that way you'll have an alternative choice when it happens.
That's what the other T is, because Telegraph, that's not really used anymore. American Telephone and T-Mobile. AT&T. They don't even have to change the name.
AT&T.
Mm-hmm. People forget what it stands for. But yes, the punchline is, as Sebastian said a minute ago, for your troubles, here's a $5. The FTC is investigating this because of as we've talked about, the 911 outages, as well as the network called FirstNet that AT&T runs for, first responders, for communications to police and fire. So good on them.
Yeah, because it wasn't just that you couldn't dial 911. 911 couldn't get a dial tone. It was both ends. Yeah,
so maybe a test environment would be a great investment for AT&T on this one. That's first thought.
Sorry, a what?
Casual.
By the way, when you said both ends, I only pictured Josh's burger. Just thinking about Josh in this time, what he must be going through in his hotel room. 9 to 5 Mac, by the way, reporting, and it makes sense because a lot of Apple loyalists are probably still on AT&T from the days when they had to get a singular contract to even buy an iPhone. And it says AT&T is handing out a bill credit to make things right. Yeah, $5 makes everything right. They don't have enough money to give more. We apologize. How about a $5? That's such a slap in the face. How about $25? I don't know if they're aware of it or not, but since the days of the telegraph, AT&T, $5 has lost a lot of its value to the point where $5 in 1930 was like, I don't know, $100
That was an immense amount of money.
Today. That was a lot of money. That's back when you could get a hotel room for like $2. Stuff was.
We have yet to hear from business as well, because business is a little bit pissed, and offering them $5 a line is not going to impress anyone.
No,
it's not $5 a line. By the way, it's not $5 a line.
No,
it's $5 an account.
Correct.
Yes, you have it correct there. It is $5 an account.
It's even worse.
So when you bundle all of your family together into one account,
everybody, T-Mobile, we're open for business. Just bring your account over. The coverage is essentially the same at this point, and
And come on, all they have to do is say $6 off your first month. It's $1 more.
$1 more than AT. Hey, not only they'll give you, they'll be great. If Laguerre was still there, I'm guessing they would do something like that. But I don't know. I don't know how they'll respond. Okay, so
did we?
Last week we mentioned something about there might be a crashing problem with Intel processors, and I don't know. Is there more about this? Is it just a small number of people? Is it just some complaints on Reddit, or is it something more real?
Oh, it's something more real because they've literally tracked it down to what is going on. Essentially, people are playing with their BIOS and making the chip go faster and eat more power than it was originally designed to do. I don't know. This is apparently a thing some weird people do. So yeah, that's what it's been tracked down to, more or less, is that people are screwing around with the SVID behavior and playing around with the power limits. As you've yourself found out, Sebastian, long duration power limit and short duration power limit are very important for these newer Intel chips.
And by default, exactly the same value of 4,095 watts with no limit.
So this is actually a reasonable complaint. To say that Intel, who damn well knows what that chip is capable of, to not tell the motherboard vendors to, hey, you got to back off a little bit on this.
This isn't about longevity,
Do you blame
Jeremy.
Intel?
This was
Do you
about
blame the motherboards.
This is about positioning at launch.
Yeah.
This is about getting as close to or even surpassing the performance of AMD's current desktop offering. It has nothing to do with longevity. Why are they going to release a 14900KS to be on top? To say,
briefly,
forget the 7800X3D. We have 6.2 gigahertz. Who cares if it's not going to last, 5 years? Most gamers upgrade every 2 or 3. So, I don't know. They have done extreme things in the past, obviously.
Yeah.
Extreme
but
edition
they can obviously
processors.
say, hey, it's the motherboards. It's not us.
Well,
We
they're
designed the
clearly
chip
just
to be
suggesting
They have a
motherboards
rather
and
close
return-
partnership. I don't think it's any
Yes.
coincidence at all that when Ryzen became a problem, motherboards all started shipping with a 4,095 watt PL1 and PL2. Come on.
That's perfectly reasonable, right?
I know it's
Speaking
old,
as
but
someone who has water cooled and overclocked just about every Intel gen since Broadwell, there's probably another reason that can be attributed to this. Because when I first started overclocking on my 12900 KS, it's different. Overclocking since 12th gen is very different. And it took a lot of work to find a way to get it where it behaved correctly and stable. My 13900 KS, I'm running 6.2 on 2 cores, 6.1 up to 4 cores, and up to 5.8 on all 8 P cores. But it's different. The way you tune the voltages are different. There's just a lot of difference in it. And I think a lot of people are going into it, as I did, thinking that, I've been overclocking Intel for a while. I know what to do. And they would do that. And as I did on 12th gen when I first got into it, and it was like, why isn't this stable? And it's because it's the entire methodology is different than anything we've seen before from Intel.
out of curiosity, what kind of voltage do you have to hit to do 6.2 on 2 cores?
I am set to run adaptive voltage, and I've got it set to 1.415.
Oh, that's really low. You have a good chip.
I've seen betters, but it's at least above average, I think. But it's just very different. And actually, I think that when you really get into it and sort of figure out how to do it, you can actually get those chips to perform at a much lower voltage than you think you need. I delidded my 13900K too. So, it's just, and yes, the high power limits, the unlimited power limits as default. I never did care for that. I feel like they should have that limited by default. But yeah, if people are overclocking and they're running into instability on these systems, I don't know that it's the chip or the motherboard's fault, to be completely honest.
I'm with you on that.
All right, so our
seems like
resident
it's
Intel
a set
fan
of instructions.
has given his take on this matter.
Oh, AMD is not innocent in this matter either. Recently, yes, but in the past, no. But no, if you're overclocking, there's instability. That's why we have all of these benchmark tests to test stability.
Intel processors are all overclocked. If you are buying your own motherboard and processor and putting the system together, if you're buying some pre-built from a company like Dell or HP, those are different. Those are, everything is to the penny or the fraction of a penny, and they're not using any more aluminum on that heatsink than they have to. They are going to hard limit to whatever the TDP is on a lot of cases. Even Alienware systems back in the day, like they had very hard limits, PL1, PL2, and because they didn't want to give you a better heatsink. They didn't want to give you a better liquid cooler. So it's just, these systems, you buy anything. Like you buy a little Core i5 and an inexpensive motherboard, you're still overclocking unless you manually intervene and say, no, I actually do want. You have to chase down information from like a non-tech reviews to find out what is even the PL1 and PL2 of this product, because they're not advertising this. The TDP means absolutely nothing. Another story, here we go with the salty...
Scott Herkelman.
Yes, not that he's bitter at all. Not that he has a bone to pick with NVIDIA. Former AMD Radeon boss, Scott Herkelman, says that NVIDIA is the GPU cartel. They are the GPU cartel, and they control all the supply. It's a quote from him as published at videocards.com.
It's slightly more than rumor to
It's
hear
technically
that.
Correct, but just because they've got the most market share.
Now, the rumor is that there's a lot of vendors out there who are currently NVIDIA customers are discouraged, I think is the word I'm looking for, to be polite about it, from seeking other alternatives when they can't get their supply of NVIDIA GPUs or server-side GPUs or chips or whatnot. And they're just greatly discouraged because when the supply perhaps becomes available again, maybe they're not on the delivery list, or maybe it's not going to be coming to them right away. Yeah, they're sorry. Even though their competitor is receiving hundreds or thousands of them currently, yeah, there's none for you. Oh, you recently talked to another AI GPU supplier? Well, that's interesting. So that rumor is potentially out there. And this is shades of the old GPP, which is what a couple of observers have mentioned. The old, and Scott, of course, goes into happening more than you might expect.
We missed
caressing his 4090s.
Yeah, we've missed you again.
Anyway, this is of no surprise, and NVIDIA has the strong arm tactics to basically enforce it. And this is all the companies out there are very, very hungry for AI development. And if they want NVIDIA, they're going to have to play by their rules so far.
So what you're saying is NVIDIA is Intel a few years ago, or Intel in the laptop space?
Sure.
Intel in the laptop space. It's time for Security Corner, as we're going to talk about Ubiquity edge router hacks. Those ubiquitous Ubiquity edge routers.
They're small office, home office routers. They're cheap as chips. They work decently. You don't need to really comprehend much to be able to make them work. It's sort of plug in and away you go. So they're not usually attacked by state-level attackers, except now they are. Chinese and Russian hackers, specifically right now, a Russian hacking group called APT28, which is quite famous and, of course, not involved. It's not related to Russia at all, except for them all being Russia and state-sponsored and that. They are actually targeting these things to the point where the FBI last week went out and got a court approval to be able to push updates to everyone's firewall rules without having to tell them, to be able to block the current traffic that AP28 is using to not take over the modem, to not mess with what you're doing at work, but to turn it into an attacker. Right? They're running Linux in the background. They can literally set this up to be able to be an attack point for various other places, and no one's putting small offices on their blacklists. Right? So you're looking at least a neutral, if not a whitelisted IP address. And hundreds of thousands of these bloody things have been doing this. So, boom. Okay, we've blocked this out for now. But it doesn't destroy the root cause of it because it's a Soho router. So guess what? The default user and the default passwords are still there. No one's updated firmware. No one's probably rebooted the thing since they bought it. So they're really strongly suggesting that do a factory reset, then update to the newest firmware, and then, for God's sakes, get rid of the frickin' default user and passwords. Like, just don't. If you can manage all three of those steps, hey, maybe look at some firewall rules. That would be nice. Don't worry that when you do the factory reset, the FBI firewall rules will come back. They're in your router.
Firmware.
So don't worry about that at all. Yeah, it's a firmware update. So Yeah.
Did you talk through that the fact that the FBI or the U.S. government considered this severe enough to essentially locate all of the edge routers, the ERs out there, and sort of force an under the hood patch against these routers externally? They've been externally permanently altered via
to provide the FBI with a backdoor into every one of these routers.
I mean, that's just a little plus sweetener. But really, what they've done is they've delivered firewall rules that prevent it doesn't prevent them being taken over, but it prevents them from abuse in a couple of the ways in which they're being abused. Really, as Jeremy was saying, what you've really got to do, for God's sakes, is just change the default passwords. Now, later model ERs from Ubiquiti come with the requirement as you turn them on to change this, but the older ones don't. Yeah. And I also wanted to point out that the Edge Router series is different from all of the ones that are based on Unify OS. They're not the same. These ER ones, in some ways, they are more capable in some ways because they've got a very interesting CLI behind them, and you can kind of do a lot of very inventive, interesting, useful things on the ERs that you can't as easily do on the Unify OS ones. So, as Jeremy was saying, these are kind of Linux in a box, in a VM. They're really rather capable little machines. So not changing your default password and allowing them to be accessible in the way that they can be gotten at is just an invitation to be rightfully abused. And apt28, I think that's the name, has done a number on people who don't have any security in mind.
And besides, Sebastian, why would the FBI need a backdoor when they just pushed a permanent change to all of these routers in the first place?
Externally,
I guess they already had one. If we didn't already know that, then it's pretty obvious now.
Yeah, I'm just curious as how did they do that? That's interesting. I'd like to look at that mechanism.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next story in Security Corner is from Bleeping Computer. Hijacked subdomains of major brands used in massive spam campaign.
This one's a little geeky.
Hey, CNAME is perfectly, or is this a CNAME one?
It is indeed the CNAME one. So CNAMEs are aliases, and a lot of times there's a couple of interesting examples in the article. Like, say a major brand runs a contest, but they are advertising that everyone come to the main site that the brand is known by, maybe with a / name to it or something like that. But the requested URL or underneath is fed from a third-party service or in some other system. Maybe it's an API call they're making, but some other system, but it's within their domain space is acting to really fulfill that request. And they use a CNAME for that. Well, let's just say that the time for that that contest or whatever it is they had it set up for has passed. The system admins retire the front end, but don't retire the names. So they're kept in parts of their environment, like their email system. So emails originating from that domain may still be blessed. But hackers, after that subdomain expires, register it. Okay. And then set that to their own services. And then they set about to hosting APIs, or they're sending emails from it. And those are essentially being blessed based upon SPF rules that are it's called Sender Policy Framework in the email space that says a receiver who's received that email, you can trust this email. Sorry if I'm getting a little jittery here. Because that email comes from a trusted source. So this is so prevalent that it amounts to like 5 million messages a day through these stolen network IDs or stolen names, just through CNAMEs that companies have forgotten to retire, and they don't remove the names from their infrastructure. Sorry, go ahead, Jeremy, if you want to add anything to that.
I think that's nightmarish enough.
It's pretty nightmarish. There's a couple of good examples in here, like one from Swatch and one from Martha Stewart, and it's just a huge campaign.
But the one that I really absolutely hate about it, in part because my day job helped develop DKIM, is that
Oh, you did?
it's actually taking advantage of that, which was a very, very good way of guaranteeing the email is coming from where it says it was.
Yeah, Sender Policy Framework and DKIM are ways of assuring that an email message that you've received from someplace is from the domain it says it's from. And the record that Jeremy's talking about is also registered with that corporate owners or that brand's DNS server, so that the receiver can check on that. It gets back an encrypted text block and says, "Oh, this matches the one in the email address. It's definitely from them," kind of thing. It has a cryptographic
mostly what we see
exchange.
is the DKIM will match the sender and it will match the receiver, but in the between, something weird happens.
Mm-hmm.
And those are usually caught. But this is sort of a new one.
It's 5 million messages a day that they're getting out.
The next story is, it's probably not funny, but I find it rather amusing that Avast, and if you don't know, Avast is this huge free antivirus, but not just an antivirus, of course, because they want to install their little browser helper and keep you safe when you're online. And the real reason for that, of course, is just to harvest all of your data, and that's the reason it's free. But they're actually facing a $16.5 million fine for unlawfully selling user browsing data.
What?
Incredible. They promised to protect customers, to save them from being tracked.
Yes.
And that's
they were really doing
kids.
Exactly what they said they were trying to protect you from.
Kids out there,
that's one of the... Yeah.
If you're uncertain what the definition of irony is, here you are.
This.
Here you are.
They're using a third party called Jump Shot. They actually put up a question to the user as it was being installed, but they obfuscated what it really meant and so many people are just used to kind of blasting through, yes, please install this, yes, do this, yes, do that. They really didn't pay attention. And the verbiage they used was insufficient to describe what they were really doing, which is selling all your data to a third party, which in turn was allowing it to be sold to different companies. Home Depot was one of them. But anyway, they gathered all kinds of stuff, what images you were looking at, what websites you were going to, keystrokes. They were gathering all kinds of information, lots and lots of browser history and things of that nature. And they're getting this fine, as well as you musts from the FTC saying you must make this far more explicit as to what it is that you're doing. You can't disallow this. It was part of the problem here was, as Sebastian was saying, is you said you were coming here to destroy the SIFT, not join them. That their purpose was to protect users and to protect users'
we may
privacy.
have misinterpreted what the chosen one was actually supposed to do. Like, he was to bring balance to the force, but maybe the balance was too far towards the light side of the force and not the dark side of the force. So
this is essentially one of those, protective measures that in turn was doing exactly what it was supposed to protect you against.
Microsoft is smart. I mean, they just have everything you do on your PC at all times. Unless you're just not online. There are people who think, there's this PowerShell command. You do this, you do that. Almost every guide you'll find online, that PowerShell command doesn't work anymore. Because every time they push out a security update, they kind of take away some of those fixes. They don't work anymore. Or you think they're working, but the security update made it so that you can't block some of the telemetry that you thought you were blocking.
Think about local user install only on Windows 11.
It's not easy to do unless you prep your install with Rufus and get rid of the TPM requirement, get rid of the online
go to CLI.
Requirement.
I found an interesting one that worked recently. Do you know about the no thank you one?
No.
If it asks you for an email address to log into your account, right? Okay. If you actually type no@thankyou.com and push that forward, it will say, "Oh, that email address isn't allowed." And then it's pretty obvious as to how to answer the questions after that, but it allows you to continue as a local user.
Isn't
I've
that
probably just
nice
ruined it.
that there's a way to trick your operating system into not forcing you to create a Microsoft account to use your computer
And
in your own
do you know
house?
the reason for this, I found out, was because so many people used it. It's one of the blacklisted email addresses. So if you know of another one, or if you figure out another blacklisted email address, those will continue
Just
to
download the
avoid
latest
that.
ISO for Microsoft and use Rufus to create the installer. You'll be fine.
Unlike
That's
certain
good
South African Karens that I could mention by name but won't, if you don't have an internet connection when you are setting up Windows 11, you do not need to set up a Microsoft account.
Well, isn't that what the
Don't turn
Rufus
your
CLI
Wi-Fi
thing
on.
does?
Well, yes. Well, it skips over it. It does a lot more than that, and it's brilliant. You can trim out a lot of stuff and inject some of the old good power tools and stuff like that into your ISO and install them without having to fight with it. But yeah, no, it's as much as old Melon Husk was bitching and whining and yelling at the manager. It's like, no, if you don't automatically connect it to internet, then you don't have to sign up for Microsoft. You can create a local account, or a PIN, as they like to call it now.
All right, well, let's get our last security story out of the way. This is also from Bleeping Computer. Black Basta
Black Basta.
and Bloody.
Black Basta.
These ransomware gangs, they've joined Screen Connect attacks. Please explain.
Yes.
Well, you'd like to see organizations making friends, right? I mean, this is
So Screen Connect, which is, a relatively popular way of being able to connect to help your local coworkers be able to fix the ridiculous thing that they are having a problem with. And it's been exploited for well over a week now, and now it's a pile-on. A whole bunch of people have gotten a hold of this and are just dropping immense amounts of ransomware. Not just one or two flavors, but like dozens of flavors. That, when you're... Oh no, my IT company, my IT support usually uses Screen Connect to be able to help me out, or I use Screen Connect to handle my remote servers. Yeah, well, guess what? The good chances are you're screwed. And don't worry, it's not used by like 911. It's not used by most of the U.S. healthcare system. It's not widely adopted by governments across North America. Yeah, it's
thinking
nothing to worry about whatsoever.
like electricity suppliers, water supply, telecommunications companies like AT&T. Weird.
Yeah, it's definitely not well adopted by everyone that you depend on to keep your life going. And it's being attacked like crazy right now. And guess what? You can try and patch, but good luck with that. There's maybe 10% of the Screen Connect servers out there actually running patched versions. The rest are significantly behind.
Uh-oh. Maybe the FBI can patch them remotely. They seem to be good at that sort of thing.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
If they want to.
Yeah. Everybody wants small government until to patch the voters.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Sorry, Brett's being taken over.
I said everybody wants small government to patch 1 million Soho routers.
No, they're definitely
the FBI
upset
is
at you.
interrupting your feed, Brett.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not allowed. That's true.
Yeah, it's okay.
The fact that they can reach you in Morocco is impressive. Or is it Turkey?
That is impressive.
The reach
That's
is
whatever
vast.
bandwidth I'm getting out of taut string.
It's time for Gaming Quick Hits. And our first story has to be Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered. It has arrived. Don't be fooled. At first glance, this may look like old pixelated graphics, but if you look closer,
retro.
it's been like cell shaded and redrawn and stuff. I have not looked at the remastered version of this yet.
Stop. You're not authorized. Yeah, no, it's redone, and there is a toggle, so you can go back to the old pixelated version or the nicely redone one. But yeah, you can play this at 4K and 120 frames per second. And when I played this, it was on a compact laptop. I honestly do not recall what the hell was in it. But if I could get 15 frames a second, I was quite excited. It was not actually the appropriate thing to play this game on. I have memories of being utterly and completely lost because there was a lot of sort of puzzles and running back and forth. It was the 90s. It was the thing. It was Doom. You had to go find the key card, and you had to go find the door that the key card went to and deal with the auto-spawned enemies along the way. But, a lot of it looked the same, but at the same time, it was fun because you were doing a Star Wars game, but you weren't a Jedi. You were Kyle Katarn, the giant asshole. And it was kind of amusing. Had some very interesting guns. So for $30, I'm on the fence. I don't know. If I get desperate, I'll drop $30 on it just to play because I've got some very fond memories of it. And hey, being able to play without just, why did I die? Okay, give it a minute. Okay. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, the game caught up. Now I understand why I died.
Well, for $30, that's not much less than I paid for Jedi Survivor, and it's got to be better than Jedi Survivor was.
God, I hope so, because I still refuse to pay for it.
Hey, and if you don't need those remastered features, you can get the original version of GOG for $5.99.
But updated. Tell me this original version runs on late model Windows. I bet it does. GOG is really pretty good at that.
Oh no, GOG will definitely do that.
You can run.
It will be running on.
You can run any DOS game on any platform. It doesn't matter if you're on Linux, Mac OS, Windows, your phone. Next story from Rock Paper Shotgun. The next weird device to run Doom? Your lawnmower. Now, if you follow retro tech stuff on YouTube, you probably know who LGR is. And I believe it's still his #1 video ever with over 6 million views is running Doom on a calculator.
Yes.
But
now he's running on a Husqvarna.
I'm just impressed that a lawnmower has a color screen.
You'd swear up and down that somebody hacked this, playable version of Doom into a lawnmower just because it had a screen and a control surface. Nay. It's actually coming directly from Husqvarna.
What?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
They're Swedish.
That's the funny bit. That's really the story here. It's not like, oh, look, Doom on something else, yawn. It's like, no, wait. You haven't heard the funny bit. The funny bit is they scroll down a little bit, Sebastian.
I want to watch the trailer.
Okay, but
it's
below,
it's only 42 seconds long.
Just
that is a really nice
actually
looking lawnmower.
It's a control outline of the lawnmower and how to move in Doom.
Oh, brother! Now, do you control it by mowing? Like, do you move left and right by actually mowing to the left and to the right?
That was the suggestion: is that there should be a way to kind of get like physical.
Bob, you bored when you're doing the lawn? Well, here I've got something for you.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I think Husqvarna missed a golden opportunity here. They should have done this on one of their chainsaws first.
It's coming. I am sure.
The next one that's maybe an electric one with a color screen, I definitely can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, the gas-powered one would be hard to pull off.
Yeah.
I mean, so Husqvarna actually did this, and it is brilliant and hilarious.
Hat tipped Husqvarna today.
Next, the free tier of GeForce Now will soon be ad-supported, as if this wasn't always the plan.
They're going full YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a path.
You mean before the game starts, here's an ad kind of thing?
Okay, so you have to pay if you want a premium service. And they're just trying to emphasize that, I guess, by annoying you with ads.
No, I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yes.
That come mid-March, you're going to get... first week of March, you'll get ads while you're waiting for your GeForce Now experience.
If it was only while the game was loading, and it was for something like, hey, here's an upcoming game you might be interested in, then who cares? If it's, I'm watching an ad for Downy fabric softener or something, well, I don't want that. Like, it needs to be more.
Pretty sure you're going to be watching
ads
like
the worst.
All right, well, that surprising news story over Microsoft to present DirectSR Super Resolution at GDC this year. it's going to be an operating system level. I think we mentioned something about this recently. Operating system level super resolution for all GPUs. Remember when every graphics card had its own API? And then Microsoft stepped in and said, hey, DirectX. It's the API for everything. And you have to support it if you want to be relevant on this exciting new product called Windows.
From my dead hands and directs. Yeah.
So
I'm just amazed.
Well, they said the same thing about direct storage.
Yeah. Hey, remember direct storage was going to be a thing, and then it became.
Yeah. No, sorry.
The presentation that you're talking about in late March is actually going to be put on by a few companies you guys might have heard of. Microsoft, AMD, and NVIDIA are going to present this. There's a name missing from that. Why would one name be missing? Where's Intel?
Because Ryan's not there anymore.
Part of this. Ah, okay.
When you've lost the clout of Shrout, then it's just, wow. Ryan's not there. All right.
Shrout clout.
Move on. We're not. Oh, I guess Tom Peterson. Nah, no, because
it's not because they don't plan on continuing to support these graphics cards, right? That's not the reason.
Not at all.
Right.
Look, hey, AMD next generation is going to blow you away. It's going to be the best performance you've ever seen. And Intel Battle Mage, it's going to be right there.
Until you see Battle Mage, and that'll blow you away.
Just keep hoping.
All right.
Keep your fingers crossed if there's any competition at all, because if something doesn't happen soon, NVIDIA is just going to, I don't know what they're going to do other than make all the money,
raise prices,
and sell all the cards, raise prices some
Yeah.
more.
Yep.
I think that will wrap up gaming quick hits this week. So let's move on to picks of the week. And Jeremy, please get us started.
All right. I suppose I will. And again, Canadian pricing, although your American pricing may also be well. It's EKWB, who makes, still some of the best all-in-one CPU liquid coolers on the planet. And the ones that you build yourselves are even better. There's currently a sale on where essentially you're getting their 360 Elite RGB for essentially half price, gone from $280 to $150. So if you've bought a recent Intel product that is giving you some crashing during games, especially when Oodle is involved, maybe this might help you out. And it'd look really spiffy in a white case because it's chock full of RGBs. More so than I'd like, but hey,
it's actually quite smart looking.
I like their AIOs, and that's what, like $100 US approximately.
Yeah, maybe a hair over.
Yeah.
If you're down in the States, check it out. It might be on sale other places, but I really don't care.
All right. Well,
I was just going to say I have a 120 of that I've never used. It's still new in box. Not sure what I had in mind for it, but I do have one.
120s? I mean, does anybody need
120?
Like a X3D maybe? Like a 140 watt part or something?
Something really like a small form factor build. Okay, so I was taking a look around and I'm like, ooh, this is a great pick because Josh will be able to back me up on what a good product this is and what a reasonable price it is. And he's not here. He's doing another stream someplace else. Go check that out if you can find him.
He's traveling as a family, going to family.
Stuck in a bathroom in Boca Raton.
I don't know.
He's not here to defend himself, so I can say whatever I want.
He's not been especially open about this whole absence thing. I think people demand answers. They're going to be worried. There's going to be lots of comments like, "What happened to Josh?"
He's on an adventure.
That's true. He's off on an adventure. He's shown us pictures of some of the food. I'm worried about him. I hope he's okay.
Hope he's eating enough.
As Kent was talking about earlier, he may not have left the hotel bathroom.
Yeah. Anyway, if you saw his lunch
on the same plate,
if you saw what was on his plate, you would be worried about him too. Nobody emerges from that unscathed.
That is true.
All right.
So the whole point of this, Josh reference, backwards reference, forwards reference.
Oh, you'll understand when you see this.
this is a next level racing gaming chair rig. This is a reasonably good price for it. I know $249 might seem like, oh, this is expensive. But if you're into this sort of thing, you know how much more something like this can add to the experience. This isn't a tremendous amount of money off. It's like $50 off for a factory refurb, factory backed next level racing foldable simulation rig for the PC for $249. And
Is it
this
free
is
Well, at least they
shipping?
smudged it off.
since Woot is an Amazon company, I think if you have Prime, I think it is free shipping.
Oh, okay.
So you can buy things on Woot. If you're a Prime member, you check out via Prime. And I suspect that this might be free shipping. Don't quote me on that. I didn't order one, so I'm not entirely sure. But if somebody else knows that, let me know. This particular chair has a slightly less expensive cousin also. So if you're into console gaming with a PlayStation, there is a PlayStation edition for this called the Next Level Racing GT Lite, which is only $189 versus the $249 for the other one. And it folds up to very, very small, reasonably sized. The other one also folds up. And note in this picture that we're seeing right now, the steering wheel and pedals, I think, are still attached to the rig, even in the folded position. So, and including the shifter, which is a great deal if you want to be able to.
It looks like a lawn chair, like a collapsed lounge chair.
It kind of is. But you can see the pedals, you can see the shifter, you can see the steering wheel, all in the folded position, because we know how much your significant other hates having the gaming chair in the middle of the living room.
If only it
Make
folded
sure
up
to cut this.
enough to slide
But it certainly
under
looks
the
like a
sofa.
Honda Accord after an accident.
It's the best they could do. It's you got to turn it vertically and slide
Getting
it between
crushed Mazda 3 vibes off of this right now.
Yeah,
Slide
okay, or a
between the
Mazda
end
3,
table.
yeah.
Slide between the end table and into the couch. Is the best I can do for you.
Okay.
Sorry, anyone that's had a personal experience with that, but yeah, that I've seen that, and that's
Al Bundy says, looks like a terrible crash.
yeah, it does.
I rode in a Triumph TR5 several years ago, and the space in it reminded me a lot of that folded up rig.
The other one folds too. Just in all fairness, the PC version that was $249 also folds up into something resembling a shape you can probably store. Way easier than it sitting as a chair, expanded chair in the middle of the floor.
Really, if you're playing, if you're racing on a console anyway, then you're probably pretty shameless. So you wouldn't have to worry about leaving your rig out and being embarrassed and having to fold it up. Leave it out because you can't hide that PS5. It's too big. And, it's...
What other things define this shameless lifestyle that you're poking at? What other elements?
It's your guest chair. Oh, you have a guest?
Okay.
Oh, no,
So
here, come sit in my
it doubles
racing
as a
chair.
guest chair. Fair. That sounds shameless. Any other parts of this
You
shameless
can sleep
lifestyle
on
that you
it
wanna pick at?
after, the pissing off
So
your
reclines.
significant other with your
So reclines,
console
okay.
racing. Just, it's a nice reclined position. Just sleep out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just drift off.
Just drift off. Nice. Jeremy,
All right.
always so damn funny.
All right. Kent, your pick this week.
So my pick this week is the PCPer audience. I've been gone a while, and I've been dealing with some stuff with work and family things and some health issues, and everybody's been just fantastic to me. I've received nothing but support and encouragement from everybody, and it's really great to be back. I only had one person tell me I wasn't worth holding Josh Walrus jockstrap, but Sebastian apologized for that later. So anyway, it's been great, and I'm happy to be back, guys. Thanks a lot.
Good to have you back.
Hey, we've come full circle. I picked Kent as my pick of the week a couple weeks ago, and now he's picking our audience.
Yes.
I don't really have a pick myself. I used
Shocking.
this board it's a slot A board of some kind in my video to, basically trying to manipulate the audience into letting me use retro components like this.
You were leading the audience.
Yeah, it was 100%. But I was just about to say, it's this model, whatever. There's no model on this. There's no branding on it. I think it might be a Soyo.
I was going to go tie in.
There's a serial number on the back, but there is no. I can't see anything. Usually, there's some kind of silkscreen writing, some kind of model number. It's just a anonymous Asus looking board. It has that Asus gold color, but other companies were using that too. Oh wait, no, there's a number. Okay, get ready. AI 61V12A. I didn't see it before. It's in the bottom corner.
It's a shuttle.
It is a shuttle. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a shuttle.
Under here is the little.
Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, long time. That'll do it. That's the end of our show. I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and it's after midnight on the East Coast now, so we should probably stop. And that's it.
If you've stayed to the end, everyone here is due a $5 refund.
You'll get $5 off of whatever you paid to watch the live stream.
In order for you to get the refund, you had to have paid to the beginning.
Wait, does that mean the super chat has to be refunded? I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah, I don't even know how to do it, really.
Okay, sorry, Nori.
Thanks.
I don't know how to give you your money back. Yeah. Please don't listen to Brett. Brett does not represent the views of this podcast.
I don't want AT&T to outdo us here. I just want to be in the same corporate.
We didn't have an outage.
lane.
We did the podcast. If we hadn't done the podcast this week, I would understand saying, "Here's your refund. We missed out
fair
on
enough.
another week."
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brett, for us to
owes you all
get down to the level of AT&T, we would have to bend all our viewers over a desk prior to offering any kind of refund.
No, okay.
No, that costs extra.